The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
On TECHxploration, your trusted tour guides, Craig and David, will explore every corner of Florida for the latest tech and innovations emerging within our communities as an inside look ahead at Florida's future.
Welcome to episode 8 of TECHxploration on the Florida Podcast Network. Here we're discovering the tech and innovation spaces that thrive under the Florida sun. I'm one of your hosts, Craig.
And I'm David, and we're from Clarity Creative Group, an Orlando-based digital marketing agency. Let's go.
On today's episode, we're going to kick things off talking about Netflix and how they lost some subscribers for the first time in a decade.
Then Stu Goffman of Picked Cherries tells us all about his new social podcasting app.
And we'll end the episode with a tech tip from Mara from last episode. David, I'm not sure if you heard, but Netflix, it's dead. Netflix is dead. It's over.
It's done.
It's done.
It's gone.
It's over. For the first quarter in a decade, they lost subscribers. The stock has taken a 30% drop. Everything's on fire. I might not get Stranger Things season 4. What the hell happened?
It's Quibi. It's become Quibi, right?
What happened to Netflix?
Well, they had a lot of growth. They expanded. So much growth. The pandemic happened. They were at the right place at the right time. Then Disney Plus came out too. But really what ended up happening is they had just so much growth, so much just direction of taking on new subscribers, creating new content. There's been a lot. But then they've also had gained and lost a lot of big players, right? Like they had at one point Friends and The Office.
The literal content. You mean the literal content.
On top of it. And then the people will flow with the content too. So Netflix, right, their most recent earnings report or whatever is showing a loss of subscribers. And so people are running, investors are selling, they are fearful.
Big time fearful. And one thing for listeners is what's so crazy, and David and I talk about this a lot, how the stock market is not at all indicative of how a business's actual operations are going day to day. What I mean by that is Netflix is just fine. For those of you that got fearful from again, what we were pushing out the gate, they're going to keep going. You're going to get your season 4 of Stranger Things or 5 or whatever they're up to. Your favorite show is going to be there. They're continuing to produce content at a clip that is unmatched by anyone in the market. But you'll see a ton of headlines with the narrative that they're in deep, deep trouble. This isn't just in streaming. This happens in every industry when there's a market leader that takes a pullback. This literally has happened to Amazon, one of the biggest companies on earth. This very thing has happened to Apple, where there's been stock pullbacks, even though Apple is the number one company on earth.
Yeah, Apple sold more iPhones than ever before, and then their stock
went down. The thing that's interesting for Netflix, for me specifically, I've been a Netflix or whatever you want to call it. They've had me in their subscription ever since they were putting discs in the mail.
Yeah.
Yes, we are that old, getting discs in the mail, which I heard they still technically do.
Yeah.
There's 8 humans on the United States that still accept discs.
We want to hear from one of those humans.
Yeah, and if any of you are listening, you accept discs, please hit us up, hit the show up. But Netflix losing subscribers does not mean the company is going under. What it does mean is the space got way more competitive. David kind of quickly glazed over. Disney Plus coming into the space shocked everyone, even Disney. Disney had a projection to get to 25 million users in the first year. They got to 96 million users. Netflix right now is in the 230 to 250 million users, and that's with people sharing passwords, doing things that they still haven't figured out how to monetize. But I want to hit you on this question, David. What does this mean when you see a market leader take a big old pullback, not out of business, but a serious pullback? What does it mean for some of the smaller streaming platforms that either got there, didn't get there? We're talking Paramount Plus. What's going on with CNN? Where are we?
Well, CNN Plus is now CNN minus, right? 3 weeks in already shut down. That's
3 weeks.
3 weeks in. But they got bought out by another company, the Discovery, who has their own as well, Discovery Plus. I think, and they just said at this point that they were just not interested in the content, which is just interesting. But obviously, there's something somewhere within their space and knowledge of I would call them a second tier streaming, right? Leaving HBO, Disney Plus, Netflix, probably Amazon Prime, maybe Hulu as that top
Hulu's
tier.
probably in that
and
top
underneath
tier.
That is probably like the Paramount Plus, the
Peacock.
Discovery, Peacock, and all those that are trying to figure out, right? Who are they? How are they? And my thought is that there's going to continue to be a consolidation.
Absolutely.
Because I think
Damn, I hate agreeing with you.
Oh, I got it. But I do think that like even CNN going away really quickly is that whole like, they realize they can't already make it in the space.
It can't sustain its own user base. This is something, and again, completely different subject matter, but WWE, which is professional wrestling, which has millions and millions of fans, realized they were losing money by having their own platform. They did a deal, and now that's on Peacock, and that works for both parties because WWE gets to expose to NBC's core group. NBC gets to have something that's proprietary that isn't just their own shows anymore, a bigger ecosystem. To David's point that, again, I double hate agreeing with, it's 100% right. Consolidation comes in every industry. This is just a new one. Streaming entertainment is new.
It's the same thing that's happened in whether it's like in tech and websites, right? Where it's the consolidation of the technology, where it all starts to kind of come together, unfortunately. But instead of having though maybe two mediocre platforms, maybe we'll get one and we'll probably pay a little bit more for it.
They'll get us.
But maybe at least we're not having to have 17 subscriptions open and going at one time is always the
I think you're right. There's actually a benefit to having one place to go, and convenience is one of those things that these industries, they know us. They know us as humans. They even know, yes, they know our names and data also, but they know human behavior, that if we could have one place to get everything we were going to watch, we're going to do that.
I have a genius idea. Let's call it a cable company and then put boxes in people's houses and send it. That's where it's going to come.
We're going to go
right back to what it was.
Ladies and gents, we're going full circle back. They're putting boxes in your home.
All back together.
The only difference is in 2024, the box doesn't have a wire. That's literally the only difference. We're going back to boxes.
Uncable company.
You heard it here first. Uncable the future
company, somebody buy the domain
of streaming. David and I are so excited for today's guest, Stu Goffman, CEO and co-founder of Picked Cherries. Now, you may not have heard of Picked Cherries yet, but podcasting is breaking out over the next 3, 5, 7 years. Massive trajectory for it. David turned me into a podcast fan and specialist, listener extraordinaire over the last couple of years, and we are very excited to talk to Stu. How you doing, Stu?
I'm great, and thank you for having me.
We can't thank you enough for spending some time with us. We hope to dive in on all things podcasting. So you literally like minutes ago, I mean, we're recording this in April, so February feels like just minutes ago, you launched a platform, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And it's Picked Cherries, and it's on Apple and Android.
You're everywhere. You're everywhere people are. But tell me, so, and I know I said this before we even started recording. So I've been listening to podcasts nightly for a couple of years, nightly and daily on drives to and from work.
Just 2 years.
2 years. 2 years. I'll be honest.
2 years.
COVID and the whole pandemic got me realizing like, oh, there's a lot of ways to get information. I can get caught up with my sports information, but I can also, I'll be honest, what David was trying to do for years is get me to listen to marketing podcasts.
A business podcast.
He was really trying to do that.
But I realized I didn't have an app to share with you 60-second clips.
Of course you didn't, because it didn't exist yet. Stu, what made you put together an app that's essentially pioneering social podcasting? A social media has come to podcasting. How did this start?
So I go to the gym every morning at about 5:00, and I'm a big podcast listener. And I would listen to all these podcasts, and like we were just talking about marketing. So if I was listening to something about marketing, I would text Craig and say, "Hey, listen, download this podcast, go to this episode, and go to 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 30 seconds. And they were talking about digital marketing. And I would send it to you. And then I would call you later and said, hey, did you listen to it? And all my friends were like, no, it's too many steps. It's never going to happen. So that was the genesis of Picked Cherries. Nice. And it's all about listening to full episodes. And when you see something or hear something that resonates with you and your friends or family or colleagues, you can select a 60-second clip called a Picked Cherry and send it, whether it's text or you can even post it on social media.
I love it. I think, again, there's not anything like this out there. And I think we want to, if you're up for it, we're going to want to dive into kind of the journey of how it came together. Because an app like this requires development. And some of our listeners, they know already, and this is a fairly new show, but we like to dive into the tech aspect of things when possible, right? But before we go into, again, development of the app and anything like that, obviously we won't ask you to put anything proprietary out there, more big concepts. Let's go further back than that. What got you even caring about podcasting as an industry, and where do you think that industry is going?
Well, I used to love the news, and with all the divisive rhetoric, and I can't even watch the news or even listen to the news anymore.
Right,
so,
it's all opinions, right?
Yeah. So maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I said, you know what? Let me shift my consumery of audio with podcasts, so I can get their opinions and their editorial from people that I like.
Well, so who are some of the ones that you liked that got you? Like, was it that some of the podcasts affected you and got you hyped? Because there had to be a reason why a couple of years ago you were willing to start on a journey like this. Were there some podcasts that like stood out to you as like, wow, this either changed my life or did something different? I'll speak from my own place. Like I really like Gary Vee's podcast. I really like a podcast called Proof as well. And these like affected my life and helped me learn new things. Is there anything like that happened for you that led this way, or it was just a bigger picture?
Let's say a bigger picture, but I love Gary Vee. I mean, he's incredible. And it's not politically correct, but I love Joe Rogan. Okay.
Oh, I mean, he's been strong in the space. That Spotify deal will be historic forever. That's a landmark.
Of course. But, I listened to him before Spotify and before all this division. And I always thought that he was talking almost to me.
Right.
I listened to many, many podcasts, but I've always been an entrepreneur, and everybody has ideas, but execution is honored. So,
big
and
time.
this is I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was in agreement. Big time. I mean, it's about the execution, right? We all have ideas, but who's going to actually put the rubber to the road like you did starting 18 months ago?
It's interesting. So going back, I had a drug and alcohol treatment center that I started when one of my friends died. He was an alcoholic. And, I had no idea about, rehabs. I grew up in a little cocoon in New Jersey. I never even saw my dad drink. But I got affected by a friend that died. So I started a rehab. And when I sold it, I used to love this show Intervention on A&E.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I loved it. And that is the story of addiction. And because I had, 5 or 6 years of dealing with our patients and the family of patients, I wanted to do the story of recovery and second chances and people helping other people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I started another journey, and it's called Addiction Unplugged. I created a TV show that was on A&E.
Awesome.
And
it's incredible.
when we were going all over the country, everybody that we met said, hey, I had the same idea, but I was I guess either, I don't know, bold enough or stupid enough to, go
Actually
on
do it.
And put your reputation and your being on display. So this is the same thing with Picked Cherries. Everybody has ideas, and this, frankly, is a huge idea. And I'm 55. I've grown out of my ego. So I got together a lot of people that were experts in their field. I got
That's smart, though. That puts you on that level of understanding that you don't have to do it all.
Yeah, well, it takes a while. You have to, crash. You need to be humbled. And then you understand that no one knows everything. So I got a bunch of IP attorneys. I got some podcasters. I got a bunch of avid podcast listeners. And actually, I had the great fortune of getting in touch with Jeff Hoffman, which is one of the co-founders of Priceline.com.
Wow, cool.
So he is one of my co-founders.
Oh, wow.
And he is just one of the best entrepreneurs and greatest marketing guys that I've ever met. And just sitting in a room with him is like getting your MBA.
Mm-hmm. And so I love that you brought that up, because, again, how else will we know these things? Are there certain things that happen in those conversations with him, you and him, that either spawned more of the direction of Picked Cherries, or you already had it, brought it to him? Like, because I'm just so intrigued by that, right? Like, did you know him beforehand? Was it because of this? How did that come together? I think we could say one of the more successful brands out there, Priceline.com. We're talking like people know this, right? So how'd that happen? How'd that come together?
You collect people over the years. And, I was pitching everybody, hey, this is what I'm thinking about Picked Cherries. And some people were like, nah, it's never going to work. And then some people were like, oh, I get it. I get it. So I was introduced to Jeff early on, and he said, it's very interesting. Priceline has a two-sided market: the airlines, the hotels, and the travelers.
Right.
What you're doing here is the same thing: the podcasters and the listeners.
That's right. True.
So that is why he said, I love it, and I can help you. We've been collaborating for over a year. He is a really great marketing guru. So, we were trying to get our marketing message. And in 5 minutes, he said, share podcasts like never before.
Break it down to its simplest terms.
Exactly. We had, listen, discover, share, we had all these. And he said, just boil it down to this.
You're intriguing us because, again, the tech behind this is so interesting, because your app is doing things that Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify don't do yet. The clipping of a segment, right? Is that the strongest, I think, tech application that's different from the other platforms?
Yeah, absolutely. But, and again, what made me go here? Well, podcasting was a solo activity, right? You listen, whether you're, doing things at home and you're listening, or you're working out and you're listening, and, you can consume the content by yourself. And what Picked Cherries is making a solo activity a shared experience.
Right.
And with, what we learned during the pandemic, people are social, beings.
Oh, not just that, they're looking for a connection. And digitally, that can happen more and more these days, like it couldn't 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Right.
Does that lead into, so like just literal functionality of the app? You can get it on the Apple Store, you can get it on Android. Once you have it, you can go within the app, you can sort to what we're talking there's nearly 1,000 shows already in there and many tens of thousands of episodes that can be clipped and shared, right? But is it that then it stays in that person's account, or do they not even need to have Picked Cherries yet? Walk me through like that user journey.
Absolutely. So if you download Picked Cherries, you can listen to a full episode, and then you can clip a Picked Cherry. You can make a Picked Cherries, and you can share it with your friends. And even if you, like Craig and David, if you don't have an account, just like TikTok, you can share it and view it or listen to it. I can send it to you and be like, oh, that's really interesting. And you could send it to your friends and family. But the other thing is, every time you make a Picked Cherry, I can share it, but also it populates the app. So there is a cherry streaming technology also. So if you're looking for a new podcast, you can
hit the feed. So you're creating your own feed.
Look for other Picked Cherries. It's only 60 seconds, and it's a endless loop.
It's like the For You page, just to use TikTok, but it's like the For You page for podcasts, but in 60-second, or can it be less than 60 seconds? Or can the user choose?
It can be, but normally it's 60 seconds. And, I'm embarrassed to say, but I wake up every day and I obviously go to Picked Cherries, and then I go to TikTok.
Right. Don't be embarrassed. It's a cool platform. Cool platform.
I know, but I'm 55 years old, but
I'm 37, right? And somewhere between my age and your age is the number one demo that's growing on TikTok literally now, April.
Really?
Oh, yes. It started, if you go back 3 years ago, it started 13 to 21. Then it started trending up. The highest growth demo is closer to between our ages than the early. They're losing traction. Already youth are going to whatever's next. They're on Twitch. They're on the net. I mean, that's just how it goes.
That's true.
The curated feed is really interesting, so that if I'm a new user and I've not even picked any cherries yet, but I can go in and actually from the feed be exposed to a bunch of shows that I probably wouldn't have found before, right?
Correct. Well, it's interesting because, they had curated podcast feeds, but I don't know what whoever is the curator, he doesn't know what I'm thinking about or what we discussed. So it's more of a personal connection between me and you guys, let's say.
Right. So is that what your algorithm is kind of coded towards? Like like if I shared something with certain people, or I'm connecting with my profile and another profile on Picked Cherries, is it kind of pulling based on that data?
Absolutely. But also when you sign up, you can give us the categories that you like,
and then it'll start to populate from there. Yeah. I gotta ask, because it's just on my mind, and I'll totally be understanding if you're not able to answer this question at this point. Is the play here to build to a certain point, and then one of the big players actually tries to pick up Picked Cherries, whether it's because they don't have that functionality, or you really feel like Picked Cherries on a trajectory to growing their own user base and never looking at an acquisition?
Obviously, we're, open to all exits or, building it for 5 or 10 years. I think the podcast ecosystem is going to continue to grow.
Oh, people, 100%. You are dead on.
People are, they don't trust the mainstream medium. And also, I listen, I love big podcasts, but I also love these niche podcasts. I went to Podfest, and actually I met Jemmy, and I was amazed about how many really niche podcasts. Like, I was watching her interview a African American woman that her whole podcast is African American owners of food trucks.
Yep.
And it's very, very, very niche, but she's doing very well because she is the expert in her field.
Well, isn't that so crazy that podcasting, or for me, I as a listener, learning a lot about Web3, even for me, made me realize that you don't need a million people to build a successful community. And I've even heard, this is not my phrase, I'm adapting it from a builder of things, Alexis Ohanian. He's been really pushing minimum viable community, right? What is the least amount of people that could congregate around your thing that makes it successful? And it's different for everybody. Just like you said, whether it's the African-American owned food trucks and you only need a couple of hundred people nationwide to be locked in for you to monetize properly. Or again, if you're something super mainstream, maybe you need more people. But I think smaller and smaller groups are getting validated more and more because of technology. Don't you think?
100%. You know, one of our founding group is Kim Sweers, and she is the boat boss, and she's a CEO of a company in a male-dominated industry, marina industry. Sure. And she is the boat boss, and she is doing unbelievable. She doesn't have a tremendous following as far as, 100,000, but she is feeding her business.
Yep.
Because she's the boat boss.
Right. And people will come to her for knowledge to either grow their own businesses, right? Or to connect in some way because she has something and has become a beacon in that industry. Am I correct that that's kind of what you were saying there?
Yeah. I mean, she's selling, huge boats. She is, they maintain and repair all these big boats. And because she is the boat boss and she is doing a podcast and she is, one of the biggest in the industry because she's putting herself out there and saying, listen, I know all these, I have, 25 years of experience and I can display it on my podcast.
Exactly. And the proof of that work and that experience.
And how door opening is that also for females, right? To begin to maybe start getting into it or knowing that there's somebody up, high up that can, also maybe lead other people into it, right? So you talk about the community. That's going to now create maybe that female boat-led community within your app that can then be able to, start making waves in the boat industry.
Podcasting.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because if you said to me, hey, listen, I want to be your digital advertiser. And all of a sudden I'm on your podcast and someone else is, vying for the same opportunity and they don't have a podcast. You have a podcast that I can promote Picked Cherries. So you have something that a lot of people don't.
I love it. And I think there's just so much opportunity because podcasts democratize information, right? There's no one funnel that controls what gets out there or not. You can start a podcast, you can put it up on different places, you could submit to Picked Cherries, right? Isn't that part of it, that shows can kind of connect with your platform to get listed?
100%. And, it's interesting. So, we started, basically 2 months ago. And we projected, just going out of the gate, we'll probably have about 20 to 25 podcasts. Well, 2 months later, we have over 900 and 125,000 episodes.
That's awesome. You're creating, again, I'm stealing your own words, but it's podcasting socially, right? It's bringing a social aspect to something that if you're just on Apple, if you're just on Google, if you're just on Spotify, all you could really do is just either play it, not play it. Yes, they have a share button, but that's only through their ecosystem. It's not brought in to a curated feed. It seems like from the tech perspective, you got easy use in the app. We're literally sifting through it right now, just looking. It's so easy to use. You got that. You have your own proprietary algorithm of how users would then get content. Are there any other tech aspects that we missed on that is specific to what you've done here? I mean, what that is enough, by the way. I just don't want to not let any listeners know the cool thing.
We're going to release some really, really good things. I can't tell you right now, but for the podcasters, it's free. You just sign up at the our pickcherries.com. It takes 1 minute, and you never have to do anything else again.
That's
so
cool.
You know, our servers, once we upload your podcast, we go back to all your episodes, and 24 hours a day, once you release a new episode, it will be uploaded to, Picked Cherries. So it's really easy for the podcasters. You don't have to do anything.
And it's another platform to help people find your podcast, share your podcast in ways they couldn't before. Now,
right. And what we're, pitching is it will increase your engagement with your fans. It will expand your reach, and also, build your audience. And that's where everybody is. There's 2 million podcasts out there. How do you stand up and say, "Hey, look at me"?
Right. So it's very crowded on Apple. It's very crowded on Spotify. Yeah. How do you find those things? So let me ask another, self-serving, we're entrepreneurs over here, question as well. How do you monetize Picked Cherries from your end?
Right now, it's more of a getting critical mass.
Gotcha.
So, once we have thousands of podcasts and millions of users, then, we'll monetize it.
And is that going to be, again, more in the ad space?
It could be, because this is not a legacy software or development. We're still developing every month. Let's do this. So we're very lean.
Yeah, you're innovating in real time.
Yeah, we're building a airplane while we're flying.
Right, but hey, you're in the air.
Yeah, and we are in touch with a bunch of podcasters, a bunch of users. Hey, what about this? What about this? And we're not a Spotify that we can pivot when we need.
That makes you dynamic. That makes you flexible. And I think at this early stage, I mean, you said it already, you've only been live as of this recording, like 2 months, and you're already up to 1,000 podcasts and over 100,000 episodes. This could be a ballpark, but where do you think by the end of the year you guys will be?
I would like to be at about 5,000 podcasts.
Are there any specific podcasts that are targets of yours? I know it's free for them, obviously, to get involved, but is it that you guys, and maybe this is part of the things you might not be able to share yet, which is exciting that you got teasers and everything. Part of your marketing strategy may be getting certain podcasts to be on the platform. Is that part of it?
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. We got I Am Rappaport.
That's the comedian.
Yes. Some people hate him. Some people love him. A lot of people love him.
He's polarizing.
Yeah. But he has a huge audience.
He does.
And he just saw it and signed up himself. And that's, probably 1% of 1% as far as. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of the top 1% already, which I'm so grateful and thankful that people understand what we're doing and where we're going.
We're so intrigued by that, Stu, because to that point, some of the, again, Rappaport's an example, but I still do like a podcast called Inside of You by Michael Rosenbaum, another actor that created a successful podcast. I met him at MegaCon, everything, cool guy. Somebody like that's going to then, and maybe Rappaport's doing it that way, but actually then picking cherries and then sending those out or putting them out on their socials as a picked cherry is going to be, I think, a game changer for you later this year into next year.
Absolutely. We have the Steve Trevino. I don't know if you know him. He will be the next, Chris Rock, or really, he is one of the funniest comedians that I've really seen. And he's on. He loves Picked Cherries, and he's
They're going to, Stu. More and more people are going to love the ability to only send the part they want to a person. I know I'm maybe simplifying it down, and I do see great value in, again, your algorithmic feed too, because I think that's really what changed the game for a lot of the social platforms, to be honest. And what people are literally leaving Facebook in droves because the feed is not as good as what they're getting on TikTok or even on Instagram these days.
And Apple and Google don't have a great feed. Like you'll see the top 10, you'll see the top 25, but unfortunately, like there isn't like there's similar likes or whatever, but they usually tend to be so close it doesn't feel like it's giving you anything new.
No, but and also, like, I'm a entrepreneur, so I'm always a big fan of the underdog. I get my email, every day with all the people that just signed up, and there's some people that have 5 episodes and 50 listeners, and then we get someone that has 100,000 and
right.
200 episodes. Everybody's welcome with us. And, it's all about community and positivity and inclusion. And that's why I love just to be in the center of the ring, I guess.
No, you've put yourself there, growing successful businesses multiple times. And this one, I think, Scott, again, your other ones were successful, or else you wouldn't have been able to sell it or do other things. But the legs you have on this, because podcasting is growing. So many more people are putting out podcasts, from small individuals all the way to the tippy top of A-list celebrities are doing that. And the ability to be able to socially share that, and possibly, it sounds like, pioneer what social podcasting is. Stu, this is awesome. Is there anything else you want to add to maybe help what might encourage someone to download the app? Obviously, it's available right there. You go to Apple, it's available. You go to Android, Picked Cherries, it's right there for you. Anything else you want a potential listener to know?
No, you know what? This is a really great opportunity for me, and I really appreciate this. And we're going to just grow, and we're going to pivot and make it the best listening experience. And also, it's as we discussed, it's a 2-part market. So I really want to serve the podcasters and the listeners, and I think everybody will benefit.
That's why it's going to work, man. You're touching everyone in the ecosystem and providing value from both directions. We can't thank you enough for being with us here and telling us all about it. And we're excited because, again, our show's on there. So we're excited to clip things and move it around.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys.
Hi, my name is Mara Shorr of Shorr Solutions, and we are a nationally known practice management company. And although we are based here in Florida, we have clients and team members all over the country. So my tech tip, quite honestly, when we all come together as a team and when we're scheduling meetings, we love using Calendly. It really helps save from the back and forth when it comes to scheduling meetings with clients, because they might be in different time zones than I might be in, and that my client success managers may be in. So we have found that Calendly really helps hone and really simplify and streamline the scheduling process.
Great tip, Mara. We just had her on the show in episode 7, so you're going to want to check that out. You can find that link in the show notes.
For details and show notes about today's show, go to floridapodcastnetwork.com. And we want our community of Florida enthusiasts to grow. Join in with our superfans, the FPN Insiders, on Facebook, Clubhouse, and Good Pods. Just search for FPN Insiders, and of course, find us anytime at iwantclarity.com.
Big thanks to our sponsor, Flintstone Media. Be sure to visit all of the amazing shows on the Florida Podcast Network. You can find them at floridapodcastnetwork.com. And we know you're going to go there because you love us. You miss us because we're your cherry bomb.